cannot tell me you don't see that. You've never seen that.
I've not
You've
seen
never
that.
seen bad attitudes
I've
collectively.
seen,
the culture.
No,
not
I know what you're saying. And it may be like to pranks or little things or whatever, but I've also seen the guy that's the B, not the alpha, say something because he's being too obnoxious or too rude or too inappropriate.
Restaurant Punk, what's up?
Welcome, everybody.
Yeah. It's so good. You should start these all the time. I love it. Restaurant Punk. Welcome back. Welcome back. My name is Nikos.
Liz. Badass Liz.
Leah. Leonce.
What's going on, ladies? How you doing today?
I'm okay.
Just
Good
okay.
day.
Just okay. I don't know.
You need a mental
I need to warm up.
Mental health day.
mental health day. Yeah.
I'm ready to lash out.
So,
Speaking of the topics, lashing out. So in a restaurant, which is worse? Not to say, okay, not to stereotype. I'm just saying, let's just say this is the scenario.
okay.
Okay. You have an overly emotional woman who's crying, or you have a male employee who's lashing out on people, which is worse. Because you were talking about in an episode how, women don't have the capability of keeping their emotions in check. Those are not the words you use, but essentially that's what you said.
Was it me?
Yeah.
You sure wasn't?
You said it's scientifically proven.
It is scientifically proven. Chemical balances in the women are different than the men.
Right, they are different. But I'm just saying, everyone internalizes their emotions differently. And women, many times women will let it out by crying, but men will let it out by lashing out on people. So you can't really say that emotions, like men just don't have, they're more emotionally equipped. Because in my opinion, they're not more emotionally equipped if they're lashing out on other people. So I'm just curious what your take is on that.
What was your question?
Which is
though?
worse?
Which is worse?
Yeah.
A woman crying. In my personal experience, not being chauvinistic, because one woman crying is going to cause another woman to become another
it's contagious?
crying.
The savior. She's got to swoop in and help her.
Oh, she's too close, she might catch something?
All guys are assholes now, F this, F that, as opposed to a guy lashing out and being like, calm down and fine.
Yeah, but okay. If it's contagious that a woman will be emotional, start crying, and another woman might catch it, then it's just as contagious.
It's true. That's why you're laughing.
It's just, again, I don't know that it is, okay? Even if it is scientifically proven. But I do believe it's contagious for one guy to lash out, develop that pattern, and then other people pick up on it and they do it and that becomes a norm in the restaurant.
I don't believe that.
So you mean like every day lashing out, or she's crying every day? Or you mean one day where he's in a mood and she's crying?
Right. Yeah, I'm just saying.
Like on one day.
Yeah, one day. I'm not talking about all the time, but you could sit there and say, well, this woman, she always cries all the time. Well, you got that chef who's always cursing at people and berating them all the time.
Yeah.
We're talking about the same person to person now. I'm talking about the guy lashing out the woman.
It doesn't matter if they're engaging each other. I'm just talking about your personalities. If you're feeling stressed out, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling frustrated, if you feel like someone did you wrong, how do you respond and how do you behave in the workplace? Women sometimes will cry. Men sometimes will lash out. I'm just saying, you can't sit there and act like women can't handle their emotions when men can't handle their emotions.
Go ahead.
No, please. First.
I hear where you're going. So here's the conundrum for me. If it's a one day, I'd rather have the crying woman. If it's an everyday, I'd rather have the lashing out man.
Interesting.
Because a crying woman every day is going to become a distraction to all of the coworkers. So if she's crying, now are you okay? Can I help you? She's got to pull her face together. Somebody's got to cover her tables while she gets her life in order. A lashing out cook, at least he's getting it done. He might be rude, but we know in restaurants, sometimes people get moody. Sometimes people are difficult to deal with, but it doesn't affect the front of the house. A crying woman may affect the front of the house.
I do not agree with that, because you have servers coming into the kitchen and if that cook is habitually yelling at people, calling them out on their mistakes to the point where they keep making mistakes, that's a problem. It affects the front of the house.
And I've been there, and I've actually talked about this on another one where I had a chef that would knock a phone off the wall with a baseball bat, or I was scared to ask for what I needed because I didn't want to get yelled at. Yes, but those are things you can move past. If this girl's in here crying every day, come on. Like, you got to go home. You're causing everybody to be in a tizzy over you.
I think it's annoying, but I'm just saying it's not better if it's the chef.
Type of negative down, in my opinion. A crier is very, I can't even think of the right process of way of saying it. needy, nurturing, stop us all, like what's going on. And like
How
you were
can we
saying,
help?
crying, makeup's getting smeared, your eyes are super puffy.
Face is red. You got to
know,
go in the back. You need a half an hour in the bathroom.
trying to talk to somebody, excuse me, I gotta go. And then disappearing because you can't compose yourself to where a guy that's, if we're going to stick to a guy, or it could be a woman too, screaming, it's just lashing out because they lash out.
Yeah, they might be
you're
breaking
talking about
plates, but
how
People
many,
lash
producing.
out because of emotions.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
not because they don't have
no, we didn't say about emotions. We just said about,
no emotions. What is your outlet? How do you let it out once you have that buildup of emotions? A lot of times men, when they build it up, they lash out. Women, they cry. I'm just saying it comes down to emotions. You can't sit there and say that man isn't
Correct.
emotional.
but like what I was saying is that you can compose yourself more when you're yelling as opposed to crying.
Yeah, they both super
And
suck.
just to go back to what you were saying about the whole contagious thing when I brought it up about being contagious, how many cooks have you seen add on and add on and add on to the yelling in that same instance because he's yelling? You don't. Everybody else shuts up.
Yeah.
Whereas
No,
a woman
but they-
crying and the other one's, you're saying no,
saying
no, no,
finish,
no,
go ahead.
please. I insist.
No, because what becomes the norm? So if let's say the chef, the head guy in the kitchen is speaking to people a certain way,
Like many chefs in many
right,
restaurants.
that becomes a pattern, that becomes a norm. And then other people in the kitchen think it's okay to behave in that same manner. That's what I mean by it being
I
contagious.
can't vouch for that because in all the restaurants I've ever worked in or owned, I've never seen a continuation of people feeling that they could also act this way.
Well,
one
usually
person.
I don't know what planet.
But I
you're on,
have
'cause-
seen
uh-huh.
one server having a shitty day, woman, not saying it chauvinistically, one female server having a shitty day crying, and the other one also adding to that, feeling the empathy, and then also starting crying.
Yes.
Oh,
So
well,
it's
I've
like-
never. That's bizarre.
Or just having to stop
never in my
everything
life.
to
I would
help
never
her.
cry because some other woman was crying.
You don't
Yeah,
even
but
have
that's-
tear ducts.
And if I thought for a second I'd catch that, like no.
Well, I'm just saying.
But like, if they both super suck. But at the end of the day, if I had to choose one, he might be lashing out, but he's still producing. She's holding up service. Or he, she, whoever's doing it. Whoever's out there emotional is holding up the flow. If it was a cook back there crying, you're not cooking. If you're lashing out, but you're still over there dropping fries or whatever it is you're making, at least you're still getting something done,
Right.
which is not inhibiting service.
Right.
Yeah.
It might make a toxic environment, but both of them make a toxic environment.
Right.
They both really suck.
I
So
mean,
in my opinion,
yes.
I'm taking the angry cook over the crying
I would take the
server.
angry cook as well.
I don't know. It's tough. I think it's really annoying when you have that person that like dark clouds over them every day and they come in, everything's Debbie Downer, everything's upset.
After a while, you don't even know if they're telling the truth anymore.
Yeah, and they're crying. Yeah, that's really annoying. But I'm just going to say, I don't know for me personally, the one's any worse than the other. Because they're both, like you said, they're both toxic. I'm just saying, I just want to acknowledge the fact that it doesn't just happen with women. And there is an emotional situation when it comes to men too. I'm just saying.
Of course, I'm not dismissing that what you're saying about it's not men either. It's just women, but women, scientifically speaking, have more estrogen. I'm
Yes,
sorry to
we do.
say,
Yeah.
and that's what causes those hormones and to bring it out more.
Right.
So that's why I keep saying it.
And
that
we've
way.
touched on all of this. Like we touched on mental health and you guys did another episode about that. And it's like, okay, you don't know what people are going through. You don't know what's causing the imbalance. You don't know. Like my dad is bipolar and suffers from manic depression. So some days he's super high and great and fun. And some days he's depressed and sad and you can't control it no matter how much medication. So that kind of stuff, like, you feel bad. End of the day though, we're running a business. You don't,
Right.
I can't deal with a whining, crying anybody, male, female.
Correct. But
I also can't deal with somebody talking to me like I'm an a-hole and belittling and degrading. And again, I've never seen, like Nico said, anybody in the kitchen who was talking crazy and then everybody starts talking crazy like them. That person is usually
No,
a
I wasn't-
dominant presence, like an alpha, and everybody kind of just backs down and stays away because they don't want no problem.
No, I
or they'll
wasn't. I
stick
wasn't.
up for.
I wasn't speaking about jumping on that conversation. I'm talking about behaving a certain way, and then now on a daily basis, that's the attitude in the kitchen. You cannot tell me you don't see that. You've never seen that.
I've not
You've
seen
never
that.
seen bad
I've
attitudes collectively.
seen-
The culture.
No,
not
I know what
one,
you're saying, and it may be like to pranks or little things or whatever. But I've also seen the guy that's the B, not the alpha, say something because he's being too obnoxious or too rude or too inappropriate, and actually speak up and saying, "You can't say that. You can't do that. What the hell are you doing?" So,
And at some point as owners, that's your responsibility
course.
to step in and be like, listen, This is a professional space. You need to act accordingly. Any more of this will not be tolerated. You know, something to the effect of we need to diffuse the situation. It can't continue. But I mean, just going back to the question, crying server, angry cook.
Well, let's reverse that for a second. You were talking about a male being rude and then the female always crying. What if it was the female always rude and then you had a male that was crying? What would you pick?
That's interesting. It'd be worse if a man was crying. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't know. A man, I might actually really feel bad because you rarely see it.
Wouldn't. I'd be like, I don't think this is a job for you. Not that it's a job, but this is another thing too. If you're a person, doesn't matter what sex you are, and you're overly emotional and a lot of things get to you, and this is a really hard business, especially front of the house. Not to say the back of the house isn't, because that's its own stress. This probably isn't the industry for you.
Yeah.
Because it's not going to change.
And you're also putting them into the roles as well. Because what if it was the front of the house being the female rude and then the back of the house being the male crying? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's
like
bad too. I mean, I'm not going to name names. But we worked with a male that was like overly sensitive. And I admit, I got pissed off and got even more annoyed the fact that he was sensitive. And felt the need to fight with him because he was just being sensitive. And then,
Liz,
you know,
it's like pull yourself together. Like, this is not.
Like, it's bad. Like, if I'm looking at you and you just took what I said the wrong way, and I know I'm like a smart ass, but if you're like getting like overly worked up,
like,
and you're a man, like, you know what?
Is this the same guy with the finger juice thing with the register?
No, that was a man.
No.
Okay. This is a fellow bartender.
Yeah. But he knows who he is. Like, I mean, one time
We've all talked about it.
Someone made a comment about, okay, you know who you are. Okay. So
sorry.
So handsome guy, gray hair. He's in his 40s. As he's getting older, he's getting more gray. More handsome. I find it's attractive. Someone made a comment about he's getting more gray, and he just got so bent out of shape, and I was just like, give me a break.
Calm down.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, but he got really. He was. I wasn't upset that you said it. Just everyone else, because that's just how I talk. It wasn't even, for me, it wasn't, when I say stuff, it's not normally an insult. It's just an observation.
You're just so blunt. It comes across wrong sometimes.
Very, very, very wrong.
So then the cooks in the back that you were mentioning originally could be just that person.
And that's like something that we talked about on another episode
I'm them and
too.
I'm a hypocrite, of course.
We talked about women being stern or being bossy or whatever. A woman gets a male cook. We're all like, oh, okay, that's just Joe today. We'll leave him alone. Not our Joe, just random Joe Blow. But then a woman does that, and it's like, she must be on her period, or
Who does she think she is?
Yeah, she thinks she runs this, and it gets all because feminine energy versus male energy. Like, it's more tolerated when a guy is aggressive than when a woman is.
I don't care. I make it very clear. Oh, you think I'm aggressive? Well, at least you recognize. Okay?
Yeah,
she's aggressive.
If a woman could be aggressive on the daily, it's different than a woman being aggressive once a month, if you understand what I'm saying, because then that just brings into the culture of, well, it's just because of this. And that's why a lot of people
maybe she just been holding it because she's trying to be professional, and then one day she just snaps.
Well, good. Then she
doesn't mean she had her period.
Then she should keep it going.
Does not mean that.
She should prove it and keep it going then.
Prove it.
Show. Yeah, but not being completely different the other time.
You like that? You like that sounded? Not me.
I mean, sometimes you just try to keep it casual and then they just push you.
Yeah. If you're trying to speak up, like you were saying, anybody, but mostly the females that you were saying, it's that one time you think they're on their period, but if they keep it consistently, then it's not because of their period.
Yeah.
Whereas people would think it is.
I don't.
Why are you laughing?
Because that sounds just.
Because that's such a guy thing to say. Okay,
I'm a guy.
Granted, Leah did bring up the period, but I'm just going to say this. A guy, that's the go-to thought. I wonder if she's on her period.
She's just a bitch.
That's
like,
what,
she's
yeah,
not a
that's
bitch.
100%.
Because women are supposed to be calm, soft, and nurturing, correct?
Not me.
Well, yeah, not you, but
I mean, we
you
cannot
are.
say that all women are supposed to be that way. I get a lot of,
men are not
you're like
supposed
my
to be-
homeboy.
And all men are not supposed to be big and
But what's supposed to be.
But we like
because
those
we just
guys.
talked about that guy crying because
I'm
he's
just,
gray.
well, yeah, well, you know.
Anyway,
So
to wrap it up, I would still pick
I would.
over.
I'm going with angry cook.
I'm
angry
circumstantial.
cook.
I'd have to say it depends. It depends exactly what's being said, what went down. But I'm just saying, I just wanted to point out that both can be emotional. That's all.
And awful.
All right. All right. Thanks.
All right, Restaurant Punk. I'm Nikos.
All right. Liz,
We
Bye.
out.
you turned these off and on already? See what the problem is with that?
Is that enough?
You're right. Yeah. Was it like that last time? That's not really making me happy. You guys suck. All right, so.
Hey,
What?
you just said a thought out loud. We all heard it.
Just so you know, we all know how much you hate us.
That was out loud. That wasn't in your head.
That wasn't quiet. It's real.
What you got? What do you want?